welcome back. Thank you very much for joining us. We're in Rustenburg today, and this was, of course, the venue for the celebrations for the African National Congress, the ANC celebrating its 104th birthday. And on Saturday, we heard the president of the party deliver the traditional January 8th statement, a tradition which started with the ANC in exile in 1972 with the then president, President Oliver Tambo. And essentially, this message is about the party's plans for the year ahead. So what we've done today to discuss that January 8th statement and what it means for not just the party, but people across the board in South Africa, we've invited the top 6 leadership officials in the African National Congress to join us and just to break down that conversation for us. And I'd like to introduce them now as we start with the President of the African National Congress, His Excellency, the President of South Africa, President Jacob Zuma. Very warm welcome to you, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Next to you, the Deputy President of the African National Congress, as well as the country, His Excellency Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa. Thank you very much for joining us, and welcome to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Somebody you might see in the National Assembly as the National Speaker, the National Chairperson, Mayor Baleka Mbete. Thank you very much for joining us, and welcome to you.
Compliments of the season, and thank you very much.
Yes, Happy New Year and happy birthday to all of you, by the way. Next to you is the Secretary General of the African National Congress, Mr. Gwede Matashe. Thank you very much for joining us, and welcome to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I've enjoyed the conversation.
Next to you, the Deputy Secretary General, Mayor Jesse Duarte. Thank you very much for joining us, and welcome.
Thank you. Good morning to everyone, and we hope we'll be able to receive many questions today.
Fantastic. And
It's ready.
We're looking
and
forward to
the
that.
keeper of the pocket of the ANC, the Treasurer General, Dr. Zweli Mkhize. Thank you very much for joining us, and welcome to you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, compliments, and happy birthday, ANC.
Right. Okay. Well, let's get this conversation going. Let me start with you, Mr. President. Some people may not have heard the full message. They may not have, because they rely on Twitter and there's not enough characters to carry the whole message there. So perhaps, just in essence, what would you say you would most like people to get a sense of in terms of the statement? What was the most important message for you that came through the January 8th statement?
Well, all the elements of the message that were there, they were all important. There wasn't anyone that was more important than the other. There are different kinds of elements. Firstly, we talk about the need for unity, firstly in the organization itself, and also the people of South Africa. It's an important element. Is an important element that the ANC, since its foundation, has emphasized all the time, and we did indicate what the leaders of the time said. One of our leaders who has put it very correctly and very accurately is our former President Mandela, who says, unity is the rock upon which the ANC was founded. He sent that message 1985 when he was in prison to the conference in Kabwe, really emphasizing that issue, and we always do so. But he also dealt with current issues. For an example, the issue of racism that seems to be emerging, but we thought it was important to clarify that South Africa is not a racist country. South Africa is a non-racial country. There are few individuals who must be having that problem. And that's how we should talk about it. We should not exaggerate and begin to make the world believe that South Africa has now suddenly become a racist country. Not at all. Few individuals, and I'm sure even those who made some funny statements, may not be more than 5 really, which tells you where the country is. So we thought it was important to address that issue and also to ask the ANC members and the population to really campaign against such tendencies because they are taking us backward. It was also important to talk about economy, to say what we are doing about the economy, how the economy is, why do we have difficulties in the economies? And I know that some people think that the economic problems are just here in South Africa. They're a global phenomenon. As you know, in 2008, that's when the whole trouble about economic meltdown began, and the old economies in the world got into more serious problems. It took a number of years before they could begin to come back, and I think only now they are beginning to come back. So the fact that the global economy is now almost one unit, you can't have other countries being affected, one country not being affected. So all countries are affected. They may differ in degrees. So it was important to deal with that. The issue was, what then are we doing as a country, as a government? I think we had to put those kind of issues. Also to say, what is good to us is that we have a plan, a clear plan what we are doing. All three tiers of government, and of course, the entire society, because we have indeed embraced the National Development Plan. So we know where we are going. It's a question of how we do this. Also important to invite the private sector to participate and to invest. Absolutely important for us to do so. I think we also took advantage of the statement, as it is always, to give direction to our members, to the organization, what we need to do, what are the kind of things that we always do but we must continue doing. But also said, this year, 2016, is the year of local government elections, and therefore remind people that they must exercise their right to vote. That was fought for, but also that, of course, people must vote the ANC, because the ANC is the organization that has correct policies. It has the future of this country in its hand. It was always from the beginning up to now. That therefore, for us to make quicker process and progress, rather, we should therefore vote this wonderful organization. And of course, you will agree that the policies of the ANC and programs are not a secret. Everybody knows. That's why people can stand and criticize. I'm not trying to talk about other parties. I don't want to say other parties are what. That's not my business. But the ANC always puts across its policies, invites the citizens of this country to contribute. When we go, for an example, for our policy conference, we publish our documents so that people could comment. And that's why people comment freely about the ANC. So that's a kind of thing we're pushing forward. And we're saying the problems that we have, it's wrong to say are the problems because today people are inefficient, there is no leadership, as other people say. We are dealing with historic problems. If you talk about poverty, inequality, unemployment, the foundation of it is the land that was taken from the people, and they were made poor. And that is the beginning of a problem. And that's why we raise the issue of land, that we still have to look into that issue. What can we do? Because without solving it properly and fundamentally, these three things will never go away. So these are matters that the country must discuss. Instead of discussing small issues, we must discuss these big issues. How do we deal with poverty? How did poverty come into this country? We know where it came from. Let us therefore deal with that fundamental issue properly. We have tried to deal with it to some degree, but we still have to do more in order to ensure that our people indeed experience the life changing to a better life. So those are the issues that we tried to outline, okay. And there are more other issues that we dealt with. These are just a few that I thought I should highlight.
All right, and what we'll do, we'll unpack a lot of these issues during the course of this conversation. Deputy President, if I can turn to you, because you're a man who's worn both hats, both as business and both as a person who has led government. So you understand the relationship between the two, and I know in the January 8th statement, that came through quite a bit, that we need to find a new cooperation, a new coming together. What would you say is the essence of that? What do we need to do different to get this relationship right?
I think, as always, the January 8th statement identified a whole number of issues which speak to all sectors of South African society. And if anyone were to look at it closely, you'll find that there is something that addresses the issues that they are dealing with. Be they students, be they the private sector, the NGO sector.
All right, Deputy President, if I could just ask you to pause for a second, because we're having a little bit of a technical issue with your microphone. We'll come back to you in a short while, but perhaps I can move perhaps to Secretary General, National Chairperson actually. Again, in the January 8th statement, another theme that came through is that all South Africans must come together, work together to work on this national project and build a better South Africa. One of the challenges that we have as people from the outside looking in, we tune into Parliament and we see this adversarial battles going on in Parliament. How do we, I don't know whether change the way we look at it, or does it represent the way we're operating in South Africa, that it's us versus them? How do we change that narrative?
I think a major issue that comes through the statement of the African National Congress on the occasion of its 104th birthday is the question of unity. Uniting South Africans, be it across color lines, across the political divide, across cultural, religious, and other areas of life in our society, can never be overemphasized. And that is something that must also always be borne in mind by the people's representatives, the members of Parliament. And I want to speak for parliamentarians to say, actually, members of Parliament have more in common, work together much more positively, and in fact, create friendships, even across political party lines, a lot more than society realizes. Perhaps part of the challenge is that members of Parliament work together in smaller entities, in portfolio committees. Perhaps not all the time do we have the cameras focusing on how they interact together and work constructively in structures where they actually share the responsibility to make their national institution work on behalf of the people of South Africa. So the few bright moments of drama and so on are just that, really. It does not signify a major inability of parliamentarians to work together. You will be very surprised how, from the beginning in 1994, we learned that there's a lot more drama that gets expressed and projected than the reality of enmity and people being unable to work as colleagues. People would create drama. I remember way back when there was the first Minister of Health, and members of the opposition, there were some that had carved for themselves this little niche of attacking the minister. And they would walk across and go to the minister and say, actually, minister, this country has not had a better minister of health. But when you look at the drama, you believe that, wow, there's so much hatred. But it's not like that. So I think we need to look closer. We need to look beyond the drama.
Okay, we'll chat about the social cohesion and other issues. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue with this conversation, and we'll hear from the other members of the Top Six. So stay with us, and don't forget, Morning Live SABC is our Twitter handle, where you can start filing your questions, and we'll put them through to our panel. Stay with us.